My brothers and my sisters, let me tell you something. Right respect is the foundation that allows God's blessings to flow in order and purpose. And when we talk about respect, we are not just talking about a human courtesy, a polite gesture, or a mere acknowledgement of someone's presence. We are talking about something that reaches into the very core of how God designed life to function. God is a God of order, He is a God of structure, and He is a God of alignment. From the very beginning, when He spoke creation into existence, He set everything in its rightful place. The sun to govern the day, the moon to rule the night, the stars scattered across the heavens, the seas commanded to stay within their boundaries, and man formed from the dust, given breath and dominion. That is respect in its highest form, the Creator respecting His own creation by placing it in order, and the creation respecting the voice of its Creator by obeying its design. When you begin to understand that respect is the key to divine order, you start seeing life differently. You realize that things don't fall apart by accident, they fall apart when respect is removed. Families break down when respect is absent between husband and wife, between parents and children. Communities crumble when respect is no longer shared among neighbors. Churches become divided when respect for God's authority is lost. Nations collapse when respect for justice and truth is abandoned. Respect is not a small thing, it is the glue that holds the blessings of God together. When you respect God's life, you are saying, Lord, I trust your order, I trust your way, I trust that what you have spoken is good. Respect begins within. You cannot respect others if you do not first respect yourself as God's creation. Too many people walk around despising who they are, belittling their worth, underestimating their value, when the truth is that the fingerprints of God are all over them. To disrespect yourself is to insult the one who made you. Respect means honoring the temple of your body, recognizing that your mind, your heart, your soul are all crafted by the hand of God. When you take care of yourself, when you guard your spirit, when you walk with integrity, you are living in respect. You cannot flow in God's blessings when you carry self, hatred, bitterness, and neglect, because those things disrupt order. God blesses where order is, and order stands on respect. Respect also extends upward. To respect God's life is to reverence His name, to treat holy what He has called holy. It means you don't play with His word, you don't dismiss His commands, you don't treat lightly the opportunities He gives you. When you open your mouth to pray, respect is acknowledging that you are speaking to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, the one who holds eternity in His hand. When you lift your hands in worship, respect is knowing you are surrendering to the God who gave you life and breath. Respect keeps you humble. It reminds you that every good and perfect gift comes from above. Without respect, worship becomes routine, prayer becomes performance, and faith becomes empty ritual. With respect, every moment becomes sacred, every breath becomes gratitude, every step becomes purpose. But respect does not stop with God and self. It flows outward to others. The way you treat people is a reflection of the respect you carry for God's creation. When you honor your parents, you are respecting the life God used to bring you into the world. When you show kindness to strangers, you are respecting the image of God stamped on their soul. When you forgive someone who has wronged you, you are respecting the grace God extended to you. Respect is not based on whether a person deserves it in your eyes. It is based on the truth that they are made in God's likeness. When you lose respect for people, you begin to see them as disposable, as objects, as enemies. But when you respect them, you see them as vessels of potential, as brothers and sisters in the human journey, as souls worth redeeming. Respect also sets boundaries. It means you understand what God has placed under your authority and what He has not. Respect keeps you from overstepping, from trying to control what is not yours to control, from touching what God has set apart. Respect in relationships creates safety. Respect in leadership builds trust. Respect in service cultivates loyalty, and wherever respect abides, blessings multiply. Think of Joseph in Egypt. He respected God's hand even when falsely accused, even when thrown into prison, and that respect for God's order kept him aligned until the blessing of rulership was released. Think of David, who respected Saul even when Saul sought to kill him, and that respect for God's anointing preserved his destiny to become king. Respect positions you for promotion because God knows he can trust someone who honors what he honors. Respect is also about timing. To respect God's life is to wait on his appointed time. Many people miss blessings because they rush ahead of God, disrespecting his process. Respect means trusting that the delay is part of the design, that the waiting season is not wasted but preparing you for the blessing. Respect teaches patience. Respect says, I will not despise small beginnings because I know God is building something greater. When you respect God's timing, you are saying, Lord, I will not try to grab what you have not yet released. I will not try to force doors open that you have not ordained. I will stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. That kind of respect allows God to pour out blessings in perfect order, blessings that add no sorrow but come with peace. And when respect is practiced, blessings flow naturally. The peace of God flows in your home when respect is upheld. The wisdom of God flows in your mind when you respect his word. The favor of God flows in your path when you respect his guidance. Respect is not weakness, it is strength. It takes courage to respect people who mistreat you. It takes humility to respect authorities even when you disagree. It takes faith to respect God's plan when you cannot yet see the outcome. But when you do, you align yourself with heaven's order, and alignment always attracts abundance. Respect creates an atmosphere where God's Spirit can dwell. Just like a house cannot stand without a foundation, your life cannot carry the blessings of God without respect holding it together. Respect for God, respect for self, respect for others, respect for time, respect for purpose. These are the pillars that keep you steady when the storms of life rage. Without respect, you are vulnerable to chaos, but with respect, you stand unshakable because you are rooted in divine order. When you respect the life God gave you, you unlock the ability to honor others and carry his glory, because respect is not just about what you feel on the inside, it is about what you release to the world around you. God did not create you to live isolated, disconnected, or hidden away from his creation. He placed you here with a purpose, with relationships to build, with people to impact, and with a calling to reflect his light. But the key to doing that is learning to first respect the life that he has entrusted into your hands. Respecting your life means recognizing that you are not an accident, you are not a mistake, and you are not a random occurrence. You are divinely designed hand, crafted by the Creator, chosen for a moment such as this. When you walk in that awareness, it changes how you treat yourself, and it changes how you treat others. Too many people go through life comparing themselves to others, wishing they had someone else's gift, someone else's opportunities, someone else's story. But when you respect the life God gave you, you stop coveting what belongs to another and start cultivating what God planted in you. You stop despising your own journey and begin to see the beauty in your unique path. Respect teaches you gratitude. Respect teaches you to say, Lord, thank you for my portion. Thank you for my assignment. Thank you for the breath you placed in my lungs. And when you live from that place of gratitude, you carry a different spirit, a spirit that others can feel, a spirit that draws people toward the glory of God shining in your life. Respecting the life God gave you also means guarding what He has placed in you. You cannot carry His glory if you allow your vessel to be corrupted by bitterness, jealousy, or dishonor. When you respect your life, you learn to protect your mind from toxic thoughts, to guard your heart from destructive emotions, and to watch over your actions so they align with His Word. You begin to say no to things that diminish your worth, no to relationships that drain your spirit, no to habits that destroy your potential, because you realize your life is too valuable to waste. Respect is stewardship. It is taking care of what God has entrusted to you so that His glory can shine through you without obstruction. And when you respect your own life, it spills over into how you see others. If you despise yourself, you will despise those around you, but if you honor yourself, you will honor them too. When you realize that you are made in the image of God, you begin to see that same image in your brother and your sister, in your neighbor, in the stranger on the street. Respect unlocks empathy. Respect makes you slow down and listen. Respect teaches you to treat others with dignity, not because of what they can give you, but because of who they are in the eyes of God. That kind of honor builds bridges, it heals wounds, it restores relationships, and it brings communities together under the banner of God's glory. Think about Jesus, how He walked among people. He respected the life God had given Him, so much so that He said, "I must be about my Father's business." That respect for His calling allowed Him to carry glory everywhere He went. He healed the sick, raised the dead, comforted the broken, and lifted the outcast because He respected not only His mission, but the value of the people He came to serve. He honored the leper, the blind man, the woman at the well, the children that others tried to push aside. Respect was woven into His ministry, and glory followed Him because of it. The same is true for you. When you walk in respect, you create room for God's glory to rest on your life, to radiate through your actions, and to transform the world around you. Respect also means acknowledging boundaries. You cannot carry God's glory if you are careless with how you live. When you respect your life, you learn discipline, you learn self-control, you learn to say, "I will not let my flesh lead me, I will let the Spirit guide me." Respect is saying, "I am accountable to God for what I do with this life. I am accountable for how I treat His temple. I am accountable for how I use my gifts." That accountability keeps you humble, and humility is the vessel that holds glory. Pride pushes glory away, but respect opens the door for glory to dwell. When you live in respect, you also become a vessel of honor. People begin to see something different in you. They notice that you walk with integrity, that you speak with kindness, that you carry yourself with grace. They may not know how to put it into words, but what they are seeing is the glory of God reflected in your life. You become a light in dark places, a voice of hope in troubled times, a source of peace in the midst of chaos. That is not because of you, but because respect positioned you to carry what only God can give. Respect is the channel, glory is the outpour, and as you honor others, you create space for God's kingdom to advance. Respect is contagious. When you show respect, it inspires others to do the same. When you forgive, it softens hearts. When you uplift someone who feels overlooked, it restores their dignity. When you listen with patience, it brings healing to their soul. Every act of respect becomes a testimony of God's glory, a witness to His love, a reflection of His heart. The world is hungry for that kind of respect, because the world is broken by dishonor, division, and disrespect. But when God's people rise up and choose to respect the life they've been given, they carry a countercultural light that points others back to Him. Respecting your life also means trusting God with it. It is saying, Lord, I may not understand every trial, I may not have answers for every question, I may not see the full picture, but I will still respect the journey you have me on. That kind of respect is faith in action. It allows you to walk through valleys without giving up, to face mountains without fear, to endure storms without losing hope. Respect is not passive, it is active. It is choosing every day to live in alignment with God's will, even when it is difficult, even when it requires sacrifice. And that daily choice keeps your heart open to His glory, because glory rests on those who are faithful. When you respect the life God gave you, you become a mirror of His character. You stop trying to live for applause, you stop chasing validation from others, and you start living to reflect His image. That reflection is glory. It is not about drawing attention to yourself, but about drawing attention to Him through the way you live. Respect positions you as a carrier of His presence, not just in church on Sunday, but in your home, in your workplace, in your relationships, in every area of your life. People will see the way you live and know that God is real, not because you preached a sermon, but because you lived a sermon. True respect in God's life transforms your mindset, your relationships, and your destiny, because respect is not just an outward action. It is an inward revelation that changes the way you think, the way you move, and the way you respond to life itself. When you begin to understand what respect truly means in the light of God's Word, you stop seeing it as a mere act of politeness or social courtesy, and begin to see it as a spiritual principle that governs the flow of blessings and shapes the entire course of your life. Respect is a seed, and every seed produces fruit after its own kind. When you sow respect into your thoughts, it grows into wisdom. When you sow respect into your relationships, it grows into harmony. When you sow respect into your destiny, it grows into fulfillment. It begins in the mind because your mindset shapes your reality. If your mind is filled with dishonor, bitterness, arrogance, or disregard for the things of God, then everything that flows from you will carry that same spirit. But when you allow respect to take root in your thoughts, when you choose to see yourself, others, and your circumstances through the lens of honor, everything about your perspective begins to shift. Respect teaches you to see the good where others see only flaws, to value what others overlook, and to treasure what others take for granted. Respect elevates your mindset from negativity to gratitude, from scarcity to abundance, from despair to hope. Respect says, I will not allow my thoughts to dishonor the God who created me. I will think on things that are true, noble, pure, and praiseworthy. And when your mind is transformed, your entire life begins to align with the order of God. Respect also transforms relationships. Too often relationships fall apart not because of a lack of love, but because of a lack of respect. Love without respect is shallow, unstable, and temporary. Respect is what gives love its depth, its durability, and its ability to endure. Respect means listening before speaking, valuing another person's opinion even when it differs from your own, treating people with dignity regardless of their status or background. Respect means you do not tear others down to build yourself up. You do not manipulate to get your way. You do not dishonor to win an argument. Respect is not weakness, it is strength under control. It builds trust, and trust is the foundation of every lasting relationship. When you respect others, you make space for God's glory to be revealed in your interactions, because His Spirit dwells where honor abides. Respect in relationships also reflects back to God. When you honor your parents, you are honoring the God who gave them authority in your life. When you treat your spouse with love and care, you are honoring the covenant God established in marriage. When you treat strangers with kindness, you are honoring the image of God in them. Respect is never wasted. Even when people do not reciprocate it, God sees it and He rewards it because respect is a reflection of His nature. And as respect flows through your relationships, it brings healing where there was brokenness, reconciliation where there was division, and peace where there was conflict. Respect further transforms your destiny because destiny is not unlocked by talent alone, nor by ambition, nor by opportunity. Destiny is unlocked through alignment, and alignment is sustained through respect. Think of how many people have missed their calling because they disrespected the season they were in, the people assigned to them, or the God who called them. Respect teaches you to wait when you want to rush, to stay when you want to run, to serve when you want to be seen. Respect keeps you in the right position until God is ready to elevate you. Just like Joseph, who respected God's presence in the prison, or David, who respected Saul even while being pursued, or Esther, who respected the timing of her assignment before approaching the king. Respect is what positioned them to walk into destiny. Your destiny is shaped by how you handle what seems small. If you cannot respect the small tasks, the small responsibilities, the small opportunities, how will you respect the greater ones? Respecting the little prepares you for the abundance. Respecting today prepares you for tomorrow. Respecting where you are now prepares you for where God is taking you. Respect ensures that when the doors of destiny open, you walk through them ready to carry the weight of glory, not to collapse under it. Destiny is not simply about reaching a destination. It is about becoming the person who can live in the fullness of what God has prepared. Respect transforms you into that person. Respect also changes how you respond to adversity. Life will bring challenges, disappointments, betrayals, and storms. But respect teaches you to see even trials through a divine perspective. Respect says, I may not like this season, but I will not despise it. I may not understand this struggle, but I will honor the lessons it carries. I may not see the full picture, but I will respect the process. That kind of mindset turns pain into purpose, setbacks into setups, and losses into lessons. Respect doesn't deny the difficulty, but it acknowledges the sovereignty of God in the midst of it. And when you carry that kind of respect, you carry strength, endurance, and resilience that push you closer to your destiny instead of pulling you away. Respect transforms not only what you do, but who you become. It molds your character, refines your spirit, and aligns your heart with God's. It teaches humility because you cannot truly respect others without lowering your pride. It teaches patience because respect waits for God's timing. It teaches faith because respect trusts God's order even when it is invisible. Respect becomes the character trait that prepares you to handle glory with integrity. Glory without respect becomes pride, but glory with respect becomes testimony. True respect in God's life makes you a vessel through which His power can flow. When you respect your mindset, you become wise. When you respect your relationships, you become a peacemaker. When you respect your destiny, you become a trailblazer. Respect transforms you from the inside out until people cannot encounter you without encountering the reflection of God within you. And that transformation is not just for your benefit, but for the generations that will follow, because respect creates a legacy. Children who see respect lived out in their parents learn to carry it themselves. Communities that witness respect among their leaders grow stronger. Churches that cultivate respect for God's presence become filled with revival. Respect multiplies, and its multiplication transforms not just individuals, but entire atmospheres. Respect is not a temporary behavior you put on for show. It is a lifestyle that becomes embedded in who you are. It is the unseen force that shapes your words, your actions, your decisions, and your future. It is the invisible hand that guides you toward alignment with God's will. It is the spiritual law that determines whether blessings flow freely or are withheld. True respect in God's life is the hinge on which transformation swings, and when it is embraced, nothing remains the same.